And then he broke right through the fence to go to the next neighbor's house for more food. Now, I will tell you that the neighbor that had the food in their yard, I walked up to him and I said, "Are you gonna get a bear-resistant can?" He said, "Well, I'm gonna have to." He was in the Apopka side, so I gave him the information to do it.
And the funny part about it, we just happened to find there was a sheriff, an Orange County sheriff that was driving around, and he was like, we told him there's a bear, just be careful. And then he found us when we found Thor, and he, like, you know, one person I think Nancy says, "What are we going to do? What should I do with it?" And he says, "Do I give it a ticket?" You know, so I don't know what to do. Yeah.
So Thor ended up becoming one of those statistics. He was hit by a car in my neighborhood. It was late at night. He's a black bear on a black paved highway. It was actually right on Hunt Club in an area where there's not a whole lot of light. Thor climbed over a wall and fell asleep in someone's yard. And the FWC was notified, and they said, "Just leave him alone." And they were notified again the next day, and he was still there. So FWC came out and they darted him. So that they could assess the injury. And when they did that, he hopped around. He woke up and hopped around a bit. And then when he was sleeping, they were able to check out his leg. Luckily for Thor, the injury was below the hip. So FWC made the decision to relocate him. Now, why did FWC put an injured bear into the middle of Ocala National Forest, right? That's everyone's question. Well, bears have this gift from nature that allows them to heal. And when they sleep, it's been shown that they actually release a chemical that will help heal them.
So they'll go into like a hibernation type thing where a lot of their body functions slow down.
It's called a torpor. Their heart rate slows down. They convert their waste into energy. Okay. So they put him up there in the hopes that he would heal and stay in there. Well, they knew he was going to heal because it just scientifically that's what happens. He had a 60-40 chance of staying in there. And they did tag him. They tattooed his inner lip. This happened, last year? As of now, we have not seen or heard anything about Thor getting into any more trouble. So we are hoping that he is enjoying his life back in the forest, back with nature, where he needs to be.
Now, a lot of people say, "What can I do? I want to help. I want to help. I want to help." Of course, you can volunteer with us. That's always help. Okay. We have all that information up here, we'll give you. But the thing that we run into is we have carrying capacity versus social capacity. Carrying capacity is when the forest gets filled up. And what happens, the juvenile bears, when mama kicks them out and say it's time to go on your own, and they keep on running into other bears, and those bears kick them out because they said this is my territory. And then they start getting pushed out into places that they usually don't travel to. So that's what carrying capacity is.
Carrying capacity is taken care of by nature through embryonic diapause something called infanticide. Fortunately, and it is not always pretty, the male bears will kill the baby bears if there's too many. So social capacity is really no scientific research done on this, but it's talked about often. How many bears will people tolerate? Well, I say if we don't tolerate them, if we send them back in the forest for the healthy food and not our scraps, we don't have to worry about social capacity, because when they come in our neighborhood, they're going to find that they don't have anything. It's kind of like, you guys invited me here. If you didn't feed me, do you think I'm going to come back?
Now, what's happening right now, and just we have papers that we're going to be that we want everybody to take. FWC is coming out with their new or updated bear management plan. And they've always included hunting with it, but they're really emphasizing hunting again. And I was just there yesterday, and they were just taking from our group and a bunch of other groups throughout the state the pulse, of people, and they've done surveys and paid for surveys to be done, and this is where, this is our statement, but we don't care what you tell the FWC, good, bad, or ugly. If you want to hunt, if you want to say no hunt, tell them that, we have to stay neutral, kind of like you guys.
But our statement takes in habitat conservation and what we think that they should do about that, population management, which of course is to let nature do it, because nature does it best. Who are we to supersede her? Human-bear conflict, and this is a huge one, and this is where all of you can help. We need to get the education out. And not only do we need to do it when the bears enter the neighborhood, we need to get out there before the development starts. Because if like in my case, I was in my neighborhood for I don't know how many years. We actually went to Tennessee because we wanted to see bears, and we saw them up there. I was shocked when the first one came into my yard because I didn't know. So we have to take that into consideration that people just don't know. I feel that we need to get out in front of it. We need to put out more signs. We actually Dan suggested to the FWC that they put notices on jumbotrons at the games where there's massive amounts of people, in the movie theaters. We need to talk to our HOAs, get our HOAs on board with signs and bear-resistant fans in our parks.
And dumpsters for businesses? Yes, because they can open up a lot of things, yes. But on here, there's links, not links because you can't push a piece of paper, but there's the address for the FWC. They're running a survey until November 6th, and if you don't want to read the whole 200-page update that they have, you can just you can enter your age. As long as you're over 18, you can do the survey and just hit enter, because they'll ask you questions. You can just enter, and until you get to the comments, and then put your comments in of what you feel. Or if there's also a link or an address to the commissioners that are going to make the decisions, coming up the next year, and tell them how you feel. One email goes to all the commissioners. So we started. This is and Commissioner Haran probably remembers this because we brought this to them. This is how we started.
It was our first time of public speaking, and we were so nervous. I'm sure you remembered that, but we brought 5,250 signatures to the Seminole County Commissioners to back up Commissioner Constantine's request for bear-resistant trash cans. He saw it coming, he saw the issues. He represents my district, which is the Wekiva-Sweetwater area. And the way I got started in this was I read an article in the Orlando Sentinel that Lee Constantine wanted to have these bear-resistant fans. And the next morning I went out on my back porch and I'm having coffee. There's a back wall. There's a wall in my yard that divides my backyard from Wekiva Track. And I can hear the kids going to school. And they're laughing and giggling and riding their bikes. And it was garbage day. It was a Monday. And I knew that there were bears in my neighborhood because bears know what day garbage day is. And so I decided, how can I support Commissioner Constantine, who I didn't know. We're photographers. We were involved in the school. And I put an online survey up, and people got interested, and people were coming to me, and we ended up having, 1,000 or something that were
walking in neighborhoods with other volunteers that saw that same thing, and standing in car lines at the schools, And a lot of people say, well, put the garbage in your garage. You don't want that stinky stuff sometimes, or you don't want it in your garage. But how many people in Seminole County don't even have garages? They have carports. They can't put it there. And in some cases, especially other places, bears can get into these little thin sheds those claws, those fingernails can pull it apart,
So when we advocate, we have to remember that our commissioners and our mayors and council people, if you're within a city, they represent us. And if you're just one person, oftentimes, they'll listen to you, but when you can get a mass amount of people together and to show them, hey, we're concerned. We're concerned for our kids, we're concerned for the bears. It's a health, safety, and welfare issue for both. Then, they're more apt to listen. And, we so appreciate Seminole County and the Commissioner Horan, and that, absolutely amazing ordinance that came off. The other counties are copying ours. So, and the other thing that you can do is talk to your friends. Go back up. So, again, we talked about not having any bear crossing signs. What about going into your HOAs or into your cities if you live into a city? Why don't we have signs in our parks? Or at the very least, why don't we have bear-resistant trash cans in our parks? In our HOA parks, our public spaces, at our pool. I live in a double association, and neither my association nor my sub-association has bear-resistant cans.
So we have work to do.
That in itself is a statement to the public. If I get someone new in my neighborhood and they go swimming in our pool and they see a bear-resistant can, they're going to know there's bears in the neighborhood, right?
So basically, this is one thing that we talk about is the corridors, and this is something that's very, very apparent last night, and we've been talking about it from day one. This one happens to be kind of the tortoise, but the bears kind of follow the same thing, because the bear is the umbrella species. Okay, if the bear is doing well, we have good forest, and many other animals underneath that umbrella are doing well. They're kind of the canary in the coal mine. So, that's how they gauge it. So these are a lot of the corridors that are still not developed, and that the animals can go back and forth for genetic diversity. Because what we don't want to do, and that's what we're running down here, where we have 120 to 150 panthers are stuck right in here, and that is it. And genetically, they're not doing well. Okay, so because they're not able to travel and they're not able to interbreed, of course there's nothing left to interbreed with. That's the other problem right now.
So there's one other thing that you can do, and that is on a much, much smaller scale, not just talk. Educate your neighbors, talk to your friends. I'm going to give you an example of something that I just found out had a profound effect on my son. He was in 3rd grade.
He's now 28.
He's 28. He was in the same class as Gabby's daughter, Paige. And Gabby brought in a water diorama.
We just found this out.
Last night. With a spray bottle.
Fire escape.
Fire escape?
Enviroscape.
Enviroscape, okay. And it showed how nutrients penetrate through the soil and into our water, am I correct? Our son, Christian, 28 years old, buying a new house, putting wood flooring in. Every single bit of it is LEED certified and has all the other certifications. He told me that it was Gabby on her display in 3rd grade that made the light bulb go off on him in his head on the environment and how important it is. He said that's why he came home and made me
do more recycling and
than what I was already doing. I didn't know that until last night. So if you ever think that what you say doesn't count, yeah, thank you, Gabby.
And something before we end, because this is kind of our next to the last slide that is not on our program. There's some discussion and some scientific studies that are going on right now that we're hiding our garbage, which is great, but we're putting a lot of we're hearing a lot about fertilizer, and we're hearing how it's getting into the waterways and creating green algae and red tide and all that kind of stuff. Well, it's also doing something else. You know, especially with a lot of our HOAs and everything, they want to make it pristine and beautiful and everything. It's also feeding a lot of the oak trees and producing a lot more acorns than what's being produced in the wild. Again, feeding frenzy for our animals. So this is actually something that we might, again, getting out ahead of it, like Nancy was talking about. You know, if this is happening, we have to start making decisions on, we still want that nice looking entry to our, and to our HOAs and things like that. But where's that line where we start crossing that's going to be detrimental to our wildlife?
Even our sandhill cranes, one of their favorite places to feed is where they've edged along the sidewalk and the grass, because it's easy to get to the bugs. But that also puts them much closer to the road.
So if we do what we were talking about today and everybody does their job, we're getting the animals back into the forest. And we can still see them, you know? I mean, and ecotourism is becoming a huge business in Florida. So, I mean, it definitely has surpassed hunting, and again, so that, it's something to think about as we want to go take a day trip someplace and go enjoy nature.
And we welcome you all to come up and see what we have. Touch it. This is actually a whole bear arm.
He was hit by a car back in 2007.
His name's Scruffy, so he used to travel with the FWC, and then he got kind of old, so we got a piece of him.
He's still teaching.
Yes. So we have a skull of a 550-pound black bear that was killed up near Rock Springs Run, crossing the road, most likely to go find some more food so he could get to 60. 600 pounds, and then we have the bones to go with us too, the arm bones. But this is an actual bear claw. You can put your hand on it, you can touch it. We believe in hands-on compared to your own. Connect with this bear. It was killed by a car about 2 years ago.
May I ask a question, please?
Yes.